Yo, my little Manhwa population family. Let me hit you with a question. What would you do if you transmigrated into the overpowered villain of your favorite video game? But here's the kicker. You get all the knowledge of the game and the new world you just dropped into. Sounds insane, right? Well, that's exactly what happens to our protagonist, Woojin. So, the story kicks off like this. By order of the Supreme Lord, Woojin reincarnates as a solitary soul, forced to make the most of his new life. But plot twist, he wakes up inside a coffin. Yeah, not the most comfortable wake-up call. His last memory? Grinding through a video game for 2 days straight with no sleep. The moment he finally beats it, BM, darkness. And now he's here. Air's running low, and he's struggling to breathe. He needs to get out fast. But before he can even panic properly, a mysterious woman appears beside him, cool as ice, asking why he's in such a hurry. After all, the night has just begun. Woojin is straight up confused. Not only does he feel weirdly cold, but this girl is ridiculously beautiful. Leaning in, she tells him he's cruel. How could he break her heart so soon after they got married? Wait, married? Woojin's brain short-circuits. Who is this woman? Where did she even come from? She smirks and asks if he's already forgotten his own wife. He starts questioning everything. Is she really my wife? But there's no time for nonsense. He brushes it off, saying he has school tomorrow and needs to get out of there. This has to be some elaborate prank from his classmates. But even if it is, damn, she's drop-dead gorgeous. Then she pulls a move, gently tilting his chin up with her finger. She calls him a man destined for great things and wonders why he's just lying there. Woojin is even more confused when she suddenly whispers, 7 deaths, 7 stars. And then, she kisses him. Boom, everything shifts. Music starts playing, his surroundings morph, and a strange familiarity washes over him. Before he can process it, a sword flies straight toward his coffin, only to be deflected at the last second by a man. Enter Lu Su, a disciple of the 13 sects. He demands that Patriarch Chen step aside. He's here to do his job. The Patriarch, standing with his wife, isn't having it. He reminds Lu Su that his son just died and warns him that if he keeps pushing, things are going to get violent. Lu Su isn't backing down, though. He calls the Patriarch useless, claiming his spiritual power is now as weak as an ordinary person's. With a smirk, he points his sword at Chen, calling him trash and telling him to know his place. Then, Lu Su takes a step toward the coffin, fully prepared to cut Woojin's body into pieces. But before he can swing, boom, a golden light explodes from the coffin, sending Lu Su flying like a rag doll. The sheer spiritual pressure is so intense that it shatters the entire palace ceiling. Everyone is shook. They scramble to look inside, gasping in disbelief. Chen Woojin, how is he still alive? Woojin steps out of the coffin, his whole body trembling. That was a lot. But one thing's for sure, kissing that girl? That was like chugging 10 energy drinks at once. Woojin suddenly feels something bubbling up inside him, then bam, he vomits. Before he can process it, a voice calls his name. His mother rushes forward, tears streaming down her face as she embraces him. My son, you're alive, she sobs uncontrollably, saying she was devastated, but now she's overwhelmed with joy. His father, still in shock, stares at him in disbelief. Woojin, how is this possible? But Woojin staggers back, completely overwhelmed. His parents keep calling out to him, but he begs them not to come closer. None of this makes sense. This has to be a dream. Then, the horrifying realization hits him like a lightning bolt. This world, it's the game he was playing. The one where immortal cultivators rule everything. And worse, he isn't just anyone. He's Chen Woojin, the villain. The guy the protagonists spend the whole damn story trying to defeat. He clenches his fists, frustrated beyond belief. 2 whole nights, struggling to take this bastard down, only to wake up as him? What kind of sick joke is this? Meanwhile, the men accompanying Lesher mutter among themselves. Something about Chen Woojin seems off. Lesher narrows his eyes. Don't be fooled. He's plotting something. Without hesitation, Lesher lunges forward, sword flashing, aiming to strike Woojin down while he's still in shock. But before the blade connects, boom, Wu Jin instinctively blocks the attack with spiritual power. Laki, one of the attackers, stares in pure disbelief. Impossible. Wu Jin glances at his glowing fingertips, spiritual energy crackling around him. He frowns. "Oi, can't you see I'm busy?" That's when it clicks. His spiritual power is still intact. And with his deep knowledge of the game, he knows exactly how to use it to his advantage. In this world, spiritual text holds immense power. It channels the very force of heaven and earth. With that in mind, he doesn't hesitate. Activating the soul rupture technique, he sends Li Shi flying back, leaving him sprawled out beside his comrades, wounded. The rest of them lose their minds. That's it. This scum has to die. Avenge our great brother. Wu Jin just smirks. Oh, since this is a game world, I might as well have fun with you NPCs. Tapping into his power, he carves a spiritual text into the air and slams his hand onto the ground. The palace rumbles. Suddenly, black spiritual soldiers rise from the shadows. Without mercy, they unleash devastating attacks, crushing the enemies and leaving the palace in ruins. Wu Jin watches the destruction unfold, grinning. Now this is a show worthy of a young master. Sometime later, the palace servants hurry to clear the bodies, dragging them away to be burned deep in the woods. Wu Jin's mother, her face filled with worry, clutches his arm. "You've killed too many from the 13 sects. They'll never let this go." His father lowers his head, regret heavy in his voice. "I'm sorry, son. I can't protect you from what's coming." Wu Jin's mother looks at him, eyes filled with relief. "Thank you for protecting us," she says softly. "I know, it's our fault that you've put yourself in danger again. Even so, I'm grateful you're still alive. I don't want to lose you again." Meanwhile, the patriarch's wife turns to her husband, concern in her voice. "Dear, have you noticed? Our little Wu Jin is acting strangely." Lying down with a frustrated sigh, Wu Jin stares at the ceiling, irritated beyond belief. How the hell did this happen to me? His old life wasn't anything special, sure. But why did he have to die so young? He hadn't even finished university. And now I'm stuck as this guy. Shin Wu Jin, the villain who got stabbed while in hiding. The guy who didn't even make it to the endgame. His defeat was premature, and worst of all, he never even got the chance to marry his wife. Seething, he clenches his fists. Why the hell did I reincarnate into this mess? And the developers? Those damn bastards. Is this how you treat a loyal customer? This is complete nonsense, he shouts. And then, a voice responds, "It's not so bad. You really shouldn't be acting like this." Wu Jin's eyes snap open. Who's there? Floating above him, the girl from the coffin smiles sweetly. "Hello, dear." He jolts upright, heart racing. "You again? Where the hell did you come from?" The girl narrows her eyes, looking very unamused. "Why are you reacting like that?" She crosses her arms. "Couldn't you be a little kinder? I'm your wife, you know." Wu Jin groans, rubbing his temples. "It's not my fault, even though you're very beautiful." He gulps. "You're terrifying." Undeterred, the girl moves closer, her voice gentle but firm. "No matter where you go, I'll always be with you." A sly smile plays on her lips. "I'll follow you anywhere." His stomach twists with unease. "What? After all," she continues, tilting her head, "that's the mission I received from the system." Wu Jin's eyes widen. "Wait, did you just say system?" She nods. "That's right. Thanks to the system, I was able to reach this game world." His mind races. "System? What kind of?" She interrupts with an excited glimmer in her eyes. "The mission is simple. Your character, the former villain, was beaten to death. But now you've been reborn, and your goal is to face the 13 sects of Nandan Haijo and eventually become the young master of Haijo." She clasps her hands together dramatically. "Isn't that wonderful? A story of revenge." Her voice quivers with excitement. "I'm so thrilled I could cry." Wu Jin blinks. She's insane. Instead of answering, he moves closer and reaches out, lightly poking her arm. Then her shoulder, then her cheek. "Wait, is the system anthropomorphic?" The girl huffs. "That's not important." Then, leaning in, she smirks. But since you're a hardcore player, a completionist who clears all levels, you'll have to cooperate with the system and help unfold a good story. Wu Jin's eye twitches. And what if I don't want to cooperate? He leans back, crossing his arms. There must be plenty of other hardcore players. Why me? The girl tilts her head and asks, have you forgotten how you ended up in this game? Before Wu Jin can respond, a strange sensation washes over him. His breath hitches. What is this feeling? The girl's voice remains calm as she explains, your body in the real world is lifeless. Your consciousness was transferred into this game, and I personally selected it. Wu Jin's blood runs cold. He suddenly realizes what this sensation is, his heart stopping. The girl's expression doesn't change. If you refuse to cooperate, it will be useless. The only thing waiting for you is the end. Her words slam into him like a death sentence. His pulse, if he even has one, quickens. Wait, I'll help. I'll do whatever you say. Just stop whatever you're doing. Flashing a pleased smile, the girl watches him scramble. Then, in an attempt to ease the tension, he coughs and mutters, besides, you're very beautiful and attractive. So, I never dare go against your wishes. The girl chuckles. You're very seductive. Wu Jin's thoughts swirl. Yeah. Laugh all you want, lady. She may have control now, but once he figures out the rules of this damn game, he won't need to follow her orders anymore. Seemingly satisfied, the girl steps back. We'll see each other later. Wu Jin blinks. Wait, you're leaving already? She nods. Yes, I still need to prepare everything. A playful smirk spreads across her lips. And this will be the first step to dominating Haijiao. Meanwhile, in the Bai family estate, servants and disciples whisper amongst themselves. The disgrace has returned from the dead. I heard he even killed several disciples from the 13 sections. Inside a lavish room, Bai Shaoqing plucks at the strings of her instrument, her delicate fingers moving effortlessly. A shadow flickers in her sharp eyes. Chen Wujin died, she murmurs. Her younger sister, seated nearby, nods. And yet, not only has he revived, but he also eliminated some disciples from the 13 sections. A sneer tugs at her lips. That bastard must have used some forbidden technique. She then turns to Shaoqing. What should we do? Master Yi is away at a tournament, so we can't plan anything without him. Bai Shaoqing, irritated, says she already knows what to do and states that she will force Wu Jin to participate in the tournament. She adds that she's eager to see how many lives that bastard has. The next day, the protagonist tells his father and mother that he will enter the grand tournament, and that, to prevent people from seeking revenge against the family, he wants them to go to the state border for a while. Patriarch Chen apologizes to his son and admits that he was too harsh on him in the past. He says his wish is for Wu Jin to succeed, but above all, to remain with them, as he does not want to lose him again. The protagonist thinks that even though Chen Wu Jin was an obstacle in the past and lost his life completely, his parents always loved him. So in this new life, he will take care of them for Wu Jin. His mother encourages him to do whatever is necessary and assures him that she will always be by his side to support him. The protagonist declares loudly that they should not worry and comments that he knows better than anyone that if he does not work hard, he will be nothing more than a dog. If he backs down now, only the end awaits him. Their clan has been famous for hundreds of years, so how can they allow others to intimidate them? He tells his parents not to worry, because he will not repeat the mistakes that led to his previous death. He will win the grand tournament and shine once more. Sometime later in Linyu City at the floating workshop, the young master, aboard a flying ship, starts vomiting as the girl helps him. He thinks that he looked cool in front of his parents, but now he is acting just like he did in his old world. He is a nerd who gets dizzy easily, and if he had known that, he wouldn't have bought that type of vehicle. He thinks he was a bit pretentious and remembers his parents' surprised expressions, saying that only a cultivator in the divine realm could have something like that. Suddenly, someone appears, saying that the protagonist must be a very powerful cultivator. A short old man approaches and comments that such a vehicle is not something an ordinary person could own or create. With a slight smile, he says that it is to be expected from Chun Woo-jin. The young master thinks that the old man is not just anyone, and replies that it seems his battle against the 13 sect has made him somewhat famous. Then, he asks if the man is there to take revenge on him. The old man laughs and says that the fight against the 13 sects is none of his concern. Besides, he has no intention of fighting a little boy. He tells the young master to move along and register, saying that in the first room, he will find the registration for the grand tournament. The protagonist thanks the old man for his hospitality and believes that he is not seeking revenge, which is a relief since his cultivation base is still unreliable. And perhaps all of this is just a trap. The old man, watching the young master, thinks that this boy is not as simple as he appears, and that, in the future, he will become a powerful enemy to his son, Hua Fei. As Wu Jin enters the room, he hears two people talking and asking if Lin Shun will participate in the grand tournament. He remembers the name, Yi Lin Shun, the original protagonist of the game, the one who defeated his character with a sword. He thinks he should take a look. Observing, he sees a girl talking to the gatekeeper and asking if he is from the Liu family. Xiao Qing calls her sister, Xiao Ru, to hurry up, saying that they are going to meet Shun. The young master, surprised, thinks that this girl looks familiar and realizes that these are Wu Jin's memories. By Xiao Qing, Wu Jin's childhood love, he had given her a bracelet that belonged to his mother and told her to take it because, when Xiao Qing grew up, she would become his wife. The girl laughed and accepted, saying that after all, she was his girlfriend. The protagonist, embarrassed, thinks that he cannot believe that such a beautiful girl was interested in his character. While he wonders what to do, the girl opens the curtain and the two meet, falling into silence. Bai Xiaoting looks confused, while the young master disguises his reaction by coughing. When Zhao Ting realizes who he is, she shouts Chun Woo-jin's name and quickly steps back, placing her hand on her weapon. She thinks she needs to gather chi and focus because Chun Woo-jin is a demon, and if she eliminates him, she will save many lives. This is no time to hesitate. She cannot be soft in this situation. However, she realizes that she is trembling. The young master wonders what is going on and why it seems like Zhao Ting is about to cry. He thinks that since she was his character's girlfriend, it's natural for Bai Xiaoting to be shocked. After all, he came back to life. The girl, on the other hand, wonders if the protagonist really thinks she is happy to see him. The young master greets Xiao Qing and thinks he must be careful, as he doesn't want her to panic. He believes that Qing doesn't need to be afraid and comments that he is back. Bai Xiaoqing steps back, draws her weapon, and attacks him, calling his name. The protagonist blocks the attack with his hand and asks what Bai Xiaoqing is doing. Xiaoqing asks if it isn't obvious and says that he's a demon with bad intentions. She demands that Wu Jin show her all his tricks and questions what else he is hiding. The young master wonders if she really wants to take his life and calls her little sister Bai. He comments that he thought Qing would be different, considering they haven't seen each other in so long, and asks if she couldn't at least smile. He also asks if she doesn't think she should be more courteous to her husband. Xiao Qing calls him shameless and says that their marriage was canceled the day he became a demon and that they have no relationship anymore. Her only wish is for Wu Jin to turn to ashes and disappear. The protagonist lets go of the whip and comments that, in that case, he is standing right in front of her, questioning if Xiao Qing is not going to attack him. He tells her to go ahead. He wants to see how she will turn him into she hesitates, while the protagonist thinks that Chun Woo-jin always had Xiao Qing in his heart. That she was the only important person to him, but now she seems so aggressive and unfair. Some time ago, Bai Xiaoqing, sick, had told brother Wu Jin that she was feeling awful, while he reassured her, saying that he would save her. The protagonist remembers that back then, Xiao Qing had a high fever, and it was very difficult to treat her, but his character had practiced a forbidden technique to cure her. Then, some troublemakers who had been defeated by Chun Woo-jin spread rumors that he was practicing an evil art and should be expelled from the sect. However, his only wish was to grow old by her side. Bai Xiaoqing told brother Wu Jin that she didn't care if he practiced an evil art because she would never leave him. The young master thinks that after losing his life, it seems she now considers him a demon. With his hand, he touches her face. Xiaoqing questions what he thinks he is doing, while the young master wonders if she's just acting. Blushes and wonders what is happening to her, questioning why her heart won't stop pounding. After all, he is a demon. Suddenly, she starts feeling a sharp pain in her head and says that it hurts too much. Bai Xiaoru asks Xiaoqing if she is okay and orders Wu Jin to let her go immediately. But the protagonist quickly catches her and begins inspecting her with his spiritual power. Xiaoru asks what happened and demands that Wu Jin release her. The young master questions why her pulse is so weak, especially her brain activity, and realizes that many of her meridians have been sealed with acupuncture. He wonders if someone tampered with her mind, and if it's possible that they altered her memories. Bai Xiaoru questions what he thinks he is doing and orders him to release her sister. The protagonist hands the gatekeeper 2 gold coins and requests 2 rooms. The gatekeeper acknowledges, informs him that the rooms are on the west side of the 2nd floor, and wishes him a good day. Xiaoru insists that the young master let go of her sister. Chen Wujin, irritated, tells Xiaoru to shut up and says that the more commotion she causes, the longer it will take for him to save her sister. He comments that he just wants to help Xiaoqing, so there's no need for unnecessary drama. Xiaoru is confused. Meanwhile, the young master Wujin climbs the stairs. The self-proclaimed wife of the young master tells Xiaoru to leave it to them and suggests that she go ask for some treats. Xiaoru thinks that Chun will take care of her sister because he has always loved her deeply and could never bear to see her sick, as he was always the first to try to cure her. But for some reason, she feels a strange chill. Besides, why is he with that sensual and demonic-looking woman? Xiaoru shouts that she knew it and comments that Wu Jin is scum. Sometime later, Xiaoru, standing outside the room and irritated, warns Chen Wujin that if he tries anything with her sister, he will have serious problems. Suddenly, she hears a noise and wonders what that sound is. Then, she hears a moan coming from the room and turns completely red. The protagonist blushes and comments that she is too dramatic. Suddenly, the pendant on the bed begins to glow. A few minutes later, a young man informs the master that the jade pendant is shining. He tells the head of the Bai family that this light must mean that his sister is nearby and suggests that she might be in the inn across the street. Bai Muyang orders them to go in and check. Inside the room, Xiaoru, embarrassed, tells Chen Wujin that he is a beast and comments that she knows he is treating her sister, but he could be a little gentler. Outside, the innkeeper informs the Bai family members that the lady they are looking for is in that room. They thank him, and upon opening the door, they declare that they have come for her. However, everyone turns bright red with embarrassment upon seeing Xiaoqing in that situation, panting, while she begs Wu Jin to be gentler because she can't take it anymore. Hearing this, everyone blushes, and some even suffer nosebleeds. They become furious and demand to know what the protagonist thinks he is doing, ordering him to let go of their sister. The young master, seeing the sword coming toward him, thinks this is a headache, but suddenly, the sword is blocked by spiritual energy. Xiaoqing's brother asks the master why he stopped him. Bai Muyang scolds him, calling him an idiot, and asks if he doesn't realize what's happening. He explains that Chen Wujin is curing Xiaoqing, and that he almost interrupted the process before it was completed. Bai Muyang thinks about Chen Wujin and wonders what happened before he lost his life and how he managed to resurrect with such a high cultivation level. Xiaoqing, as she is being healed, thinks that everything feels so warm and tells herself that his hand is large and comforting, and those touches are very pleasant. Suddenly, she hears a voice telling her to eliminate him. When she opens her eyes, she wonders if the chained person she is seeing is Chen Wujin, while the voices whisper that this is her chance. She thinks that she knows she should hate him, but he looks so lonely, and that makes her question why she feels this way. Suddenly, she feels an aura around her hands, and realizes that the sensation is very familiar. Then, she starts crying, and thinks that it can't be possible. She begins to remember the past, when Chen Wujin called her little sister Xiao, and told her not to worry about anything, because he would take care of her. He gave her a bracelet, saying that it belonged to his mother, but would now be hers because she was his fiancée. Bai Xiaoting, crying, calls out to brother Wu Jin as she sees him losing his life to a sword, begging her not to leave him. She, in tears, says that she was brother Wu Jin's fiancée and questions what she has done. She starts apologizing, saying that she is sorry and wondering how she could have forgotten him. When she wakes up, she calls out to brother Wu Jin. Bai Muyang asks Xiao Ting to calm down, saying that he is her grandfather. Bai Xiaoru hugs her sister and asks what is happening. Begging her to wake up, Xiao Qing, still crying, says she is sorry and asks brother Wu Jin not to hate her because it wasn't her fault. Muyang comments that it seems like she is returning to normal, while her sister says that this is a relief. Qing, crying, calls out to her grandfather and says that she dreamed about brother Wu Jin. She asks her grandfather what happened and why she thought brother Wu Jin was a demon when she was in love with him. Suddenly, the protagonist appears behind her grandfather, saying that it wasn't her fault because Xiao Qing was a victim of a sealing, but now she is better. Bai Xiao Qing, seeing him, asks if he really is brother Wu Jin. The young master replies that yes, it is him. Quickly, Xiao Qing embraces him, apologizing. The protagonist laughs and tells her not to blame herself for it, because she was under a spell. He thinks that he was so focused on her treatment that he didn't notice, but she smells really good. He believes that Chen Wu Jin doesn't have a soul to keep her only for himself, and comments that he will fulfill his wish and take care of her from now on. Stroking her head, he tells Qing that everything is fine because he is here. Bai Muyang sighs and comments that it seems both are destined. Muyang calls Chen Wu Jin and asks him to come with him for a moment. Xiao Qing asks why her grandfather wants to speak to Wu Jin in private. The protagonist asks her to stay calm because her grandfather just wants to talk. Bai Muyang, irritated, questions who he is calling grandfather. The young master replies that he is already right behind him. The protagonist notices that Muyang is firmly holding Qing's jade pendant and gives a slight smile. In the outskirts of the city, in the forest, the protagonist meets with Muyang. The young master calls him Grandpa Bai, mentioning that he was asked to follow him to the forest. But he hasn't said a single word since then. He questions his intentions and thinks that one of the reasons why the old man never liked him was because he got along too well with his granddaughter. Bai Muyang asks if he knows why he was brought to that particular forest and states that many people's remains lie there. He explains that the grand tournament is a fair competition where everyone participates, but unfortunately, not everyone respects the rules. In competitions like this, there are always those who try to take advantage of others. The forest serves as a reminder of this, as many innocent lives rest there. Many promising cultivators were silenced by old men like him. With spiritual power in his hands, Bai Muyang comments that he never agreed with this, but he will do whatever it takes to save his granddaughter, even if he has to become a villain. He tells Chen Wu Jin that now that he has returned to life, he wants him to prove how strong he is. Then, he challenges him to see if he is worthy of being with his granddaughter and attacks with his water technique. The protagonist, seeing this, comments that Grandpa Bai used spiritual tidal wave and realizes that he's going all out because that technique is extremely powerful. In the past, his character could not withstand a single blow from it. However, he is no longer that loser. He begins to invoke his strike with spiritual text and comments that it is impossible to face that move head-on, but he needs to challenge it. He decides to be careful and uses Sea of Death. Bai Muyang is surprised to see this. The two techniques collide head-on, generating a massive energy wave visible from the middle of the city. Upon seeing it, people comment that the spiritual color is blue and question who the Bai family is fighting against. Some wonder about the origin of the red energy, while others note that few cultivators are capable of using that type of summoning technique. Amidst the crowd, Xiao Qing asks everyone to move aside and runs toward the wave of spiritual energy. Her sister Xiao Ru trailing behind her. Xiao Qing was worried because her grandfather and Chen Wu Jin had left so suddenly, and a growing sense of unease gnawed at her. she knew she needed to hurry. In the forest, Bai Muyang was taken aback by the powerful aura before him. He struggled to believe that the formidable energy belonged to Chen Wujin. The protagonist remained confident, showing that he was ready to earn Muyang's approval. Although the old man stayed on guard, his expression hinted at a shift in perception. Muyang couldn't help but wonder how Chen Wujin had become so strong and where he had learned such formidable techniques. Before he could find answers, Xiao Qing arrived at the scene, desperate to protect Wujin and stop the confrontation. The siblings, along with Xiao Ru, blush upon seeing Qing in that outfit. Quickly, the protagonist takes off his coat and covers Xiao Qing, telling her to wear it because he doesn't want her catching a cold. He thinks that by Xiao Qing will become his wife, so he won't allow those trash to devour her with their eyes, since she belongs to him. Meanwhile, she, blushing, thinks that Brother Wu Jin is very considerate, even in that situation, and that he cares a lot about her. Bai Muyang takes a deep breath and comments that he gives up, saying that it's impossible to break the bond between them. Bai Xiaoqing looks at her grandfather, irritated, and says that he should be ashamed for daring to use such a powerful technique just to suppress a boy. Grandpa Bai replies that she doesn't need to make a scene, calling her a little girl, and comments that her fiancé is stronger than he seems. He adds that he has no idea where the boy learned those strange techniques. But now there is nothing he can do. The protagonist asks him not to be so modest, calling him Master Bai, and says that he was very merciful because if he had gone all out, the old man wouldn't have had a chance. The old man thinks that at least the boy has good manners and calls him a brat, commenting that he only did this because of his granddaughter's feelings. He explains that when the sect was after him, after he lost his life for his granddaughter's sake, he sealed the meridians in her body with his spiritual power to suppress her emotions. Surprised, the girl questions how her grandfather could do that. Bai Muyang replies that not only did he come back to life, but he also managed to break the seal on his own, which must be the will of the heavens. The grandfather asks him to extend his hands and comments that he will teach him spiritual tidal wave as a reward for his explosion of power. He explains that the protagonist's body is rich in spiritual energy, but very disordered. With that technique, he will be able to stabilize it. And with his ability, in a few days, he will be able to master it. Master Bai comments that the young man's understanding and comprehension are incredible, calling him a genius. Xiao Ting, admiringly, says that Brother Wu Jin is very powerful. Suddenly, his wife says that this is obvious. After all, he is the man she loves and personally chose. She also adds that he is their best player. The protagonist questions why she always appears at the worst moments. Suddenly, Xiao Qing calls out to Brother Wu Jin. Startled, he thinks there's trouble. Xiao Qing, with a serious expression, watches silently. The young master tries to explain that it's not what it looks like. Qing reassures him, telling him not to worry because she understands. She comments that the woman has been by his side because she was the one who saved his life. The protagonist and Cha Hayan can't believe what they just heard. Xiao Qing explains that when she saw the woman's body become invisible, she already understood that her abilities are extraordinary. Cha Hayan thinks that this shouldn't be possible because she is the system. Xiao Ru tells her sister that she is too naive because it's obvious that the woman is a rival. Xiao Qing replies that this is impossible, since the only woman Brother Wu Jin is crazy about is her. Besides, he doesn't like older women. Cha Hayan, irritated, questions what she just said. She comments that with this appearance, she spent 3,000 calculations and tested 5,000 different models. So she asks who Xiao Qing is calling old. The young master tries to calm the situation, asking her to forget the comment and not make a scene over something so simple. Master Bai intervenes, saying that's enough and that this is not the time to fight. He then questions whether the brat hasn't noticed that they have company. Some members of the Beast King sect, Wang Tang Long, comment that they didn't expect to find such a disrespectful old man there. Master Bai questions why the Beast King sect is there, and comments that the forest is very dangerous, since no one participating in the grand tournament ever appears there. Wang Tang Long laughs, and thanks Patriarch Bai for the warning, but questions if he really thinks he is the only one allowed to use the forest. A member of the Bai family responds that he will not allow him to bother their master, but Bai tells them to let it go. He comments that if he were Wang Tinglong, he will be careful with his words because he is not only the patriarch of the Bai family, but also won the grand tournament when he was young. Bai asks if he really thinks he is afraid of a pair of rude brats, and comments that Wang Tinglong never even participated in the grand tournament. Wang Tinglong gets irritated, but takes a deep breath and starts laughing. He calls Master Bai an old man, and says that everyone considers him a great cultivator, but when the sects united to hunt down the trash that was Chen Wujin, he was just one of the leaders. However, he knows very well that Bai stayed on the sidelines, remaining in the rear the whole time. The protagonist intervenes, saying that at least he didn't hide like a coward inside Kuya Mountain. Wang Tinglong demands to know who said that. The young master asks if he doesn't recognize him, now that his sect is famous again. All the members of the Beast King sect are shocked, saying the name Chen Wujin. The protagonist asks what's wrong and comments that they look like they've seen a ghost. He steps forward, saying that he's just trash, and that he sees they pitted him when they accepted him into the sect. He declares that he never expected to be betrayed in such a way, and comments that their actions were truly heartless. Wang Tinglong, irritated, calls him a disgrace, while one of the members comments that the rumors about his resurrection were true. He adds that it's not a good idea to mess with Chen Wujin, as he eliminated several disciples. The member also mentions that they still need to meet secretly with Miss Yu, so it's best not to escalate the situation. Wang Tinglong states that he has more important matters to attend to and doesn't have time to deal with him. He tells the protagonist to wait until the grand tournament begins, promising to send him back to hell. Suddenly, he notices something and orders everyone to stop. Wang Tinglong asks what he wants. The protagonist, exuding a strong aura, points to the bell hanging from his waist. Xiaoqing also points to it, saying that it looks familiar. The young master, irritated, demands to know where he got it. Wang Tinglong wonders what kind of mess this is, and tries to understand the intense glare he is receiving. Xiaoqing remembers and asks why he has her sister Qingjiao's bell and what he did to her. Wang Tinglong replies that it's obvious, since he has all of her belongings. What does she think happened? The protagonist, enraged, begins summoning two elements, one in each hand. Wang Tinglong and the others are shocked, saying that the brat can control two elements and asking how he can wield fire and lightning at the same time. The young master, raising his voice, declares that they will all pay for this. Enraged, the intensity of the elements increases as he utters the name Qingjiao, thinking that she was one of his favorite characters. One of the Beast King sect members tells his brother that the brat is dead serious and questions if he really intends to fight him. Long tells him to stop acting like an idiot and reminds him that he is in the Yuaning realm, asking if he really thinks he's afraid of the brat. The man comments that the spiritual pressure is not normal and believes that the boy's power is above the Yuaning realm. Old Bai says this is bad because if Wu Jin hurts someone, he will be disqualified from the grand tournament and orders Yao Qing to bring him back to his senses. She hesitates and says she doesn't want to, commenting that there's no point in him participating in the grand tournament anyway, because even if he wins, the other sects will try to eliminate him in the name of justice. She says that those idiots don't understand Brother Wu Jin's greatness and adds that he is not only handsome, but also possesses terrifying abilities. Master Bai comments that this girl doesn't seem like his granddaughter and says that the chi energy flow is too intense, certain that someone will eventually step in to stop the fight. Wang Tinglong begins writing a spiritual text and says that if the brat wants to lose his life so badly, he is welcome to, as he will grant his wish. He thinks that he can't believe he has to use this, but with this technique, he will be immune to the brat's attacks. The protagonist comments that he sees he is using a defensive spiritual scripture and says it's not a bad idea. Spiritual scripture is a technique that can be used both offensively and defensively, and its power depends on the user's comprehension. The young master remarks that it's a pity Long is his opponent and tells him to watch and learn. Wang Tinglong is in disbelief as the protagonist launches his technique, Serpent of Death. He declares that no matter how many tricks Long tries, an ant will always be an ant, and that he was never his rival. Wang Tung Long and the others are terrified, saying that this is the end for them. Long activates his defensive technique, saying that he will eliminate him, but Serpent of Death collides with the defensive technique. Shattering it effortlessly, Long, unable to believe it, asks how he managed to break his defense so easily. As the young master's attack is about to strike all the Beast King SEC members, someone tells him to wait, and a white serpent appears, stopping the protagonist's attack and dissipating the blows. The voice comments that it was an excellent attack and that he expected nothing less, but says that he is still very young and must learn to control his emotions. Wang Tung Long demands to know who he is. Hao Lianshan from the Bitao sect responds that he is a friend of the boy. The young master, surprised, asks what the elder is doing there. The short Lianshan says he is happy to see him again, calling him boy. Master Bai calls the old man by his name, Hao Lianshan, and the two stare at each other seriously for a while. Suddenly, Bai slaps the short elder on the shoulder, and both burst into laughter. The protagonist wonders what the hell is happening, feeling completely confused. Master Bai questions Hao Lian if it hasn't been 10 years since they last saw each other, and asks how he has been. He says that avoiding drinking is harder than negotiating with other sects. Lian responds that it's his own fault, because if he left Zhongzhou once in a while, they could see each other more often, as he passes by there every day. He also mentions that in recent years, he has had a lot of work because managing the Bitao sect is no easy task. The protagonist asks, shouting if her grandfather knows that old man, and she replies that they are probably friends. Master Bai says that now that he is here, it doesn't matter. They have to drink like in the old days. Hao Lian agrees, saying that's the spirit. Master Bai comments that he is still an old fox, and reminds him that he is the sect leader, questioning whether he shouldn't be managing it and asking what he is doing in the forest. He says he is sure that Lian was studying the other competitors. Hao Lian laughs and says that Master Bai never misses a thing. He got him. He comments that their fights in the past are now just memories and that they are too old for that now. Hao Lian explains that this time, he is only in charge of organizing the grand tournament and that someone reported a fight in the forest, so he had to investigate. The protagonist asks about the report, while Xiaoqing questions what happened. He responds that it's nothing, but the situation seems a bit strange. He comments that, as they know, fights before the tournament are forbidden and could disqualify a participant, or in the worst case, eliminate them. Hao Lian explains that whoever reported this missed a great opportunity, because if they had waited a little longer, the participant would have been disqualified for breaking the rules. What he means is that there was a good chance of eliminating him from the competition. The protagonist asks Elder who made the report, and comments that he didn't expect to find such a noble person there. A voice responds to Chun, saying that he is very kind, and that they just wanted to lend a hand. After all, it's been a long time since they last met. The protagonist remains silent and asks if he knows him. The young man laughs and says that it seems Master Chun has forgotten, but he doesn't blame him because the life of nobles is complicated. He introduces himself as Zhao Shuruo, a disciple of the Yu sect, and says it's a pleasure to meet them. Master Bai asks if he just said Yu sect. The young Master Wu Jin thinks that when the sects hunted Chen Wu Jin, the Yu sect was one of the most active, and he realizes that this guy is very suspicious. Elder House starts coughing and says that now that everything is settled, everyone should head back, as the grand tournament will begin in a few days. So it's best for everyone to prepare. Zhao Shuo says that he was worried about Chen Wu Jin's safety, but now that everything is fine, he will take his leave. Ban Muyan questions whether they should trust someone from the U.S. sect and asks how they can be sure that he is not pretending. Shuruan merely looks at the young master. The protagonist thinks that this sensation is very familiar and feels like he has seen him before. He questions Shahian about the connection between him and his character, asking why he cannot access Wu Jin's memories. She, annoyed, questions how a man can be more charming than her and tells him to figure it out himself because she won't give him spoilers. The system won't help him with this. Long thanks Master Hao for assisting them and comments that it would be best to return to the sect since they don't want any more trouble. The young Master Wu Jin orders them to stop, exuding a powerful aura. Long asks what he wants and if he intends to provoke him again. The protagonist tells Master Hao that the reason behind this conflict is the sudden disappearance of a friend, Qing Zhao, and mentions that Wang Long has her bell, which is suspicious. He comments that he hopes Master Hao will remain impartial in the grand tournament and not use this as an excuse to threaten him. Then he asks him to accompany him to the Beast King's sect to help rescue her. At the Beast King's sect, Long announces his return. The gatekeepers ask the elder brother what happened. Master Hao explains that he is one of the administrators of the grand tournament, and that, unfortunately, it is common for other sects to try to gain advantages through dubious methods. So he is there to ensure that everything is in order. Long tells Master Hao that they are merely assuming that Qing Zhao is there, but he never confirmed anything. Then he asks the young Master Wu Jin if he really thinks he can blame him for having that bell, claiming that he simply found it in the forest. Lien Shan comments that if that is the case, there should be no problem in letting them search. Long allows them to enter, but warns that if they find nothing, Chun Wu Jin will have to kneel and call him master. The protagonist asks if he is sure, but warns that he fears the only loser will be him. Master Hao declares that they're going in. The young Master Wu Jin orders Shao Qing to search the eastern zone while he searches the west. Long thinks that they can search all they want. But since this is his territory, they won't find anything. He laughs internally, calling Wu Jin a brat, and thinking that he has everything under control since that bitch belongs to him and will never be found. In the underground chamber, Qing Jiao, holding her stomach, thinks that she is very hungry. Suddenly, the door starts to open, and she notices the movement. One of the Beast King's sect members comments that he bets she is starving and taunts her, saying that all she has to do is submit to their elder brother, and it will all be over. He mocks her further, asking if she doesn't smell the food, and if she really doesn't want some. The girl, gripping a dagger, trembling, screams at him not to come closer. She warns that if he takes one more step, she will end her own life. The man, irritated, smashes the plate of food on the ground, insults her, and asks if she doesn't understand her situation. He tells her that if she continues with that foolish temperament, she is doomed. As he leaves the room, he tells her to go to hell and says he wants to see how long she will last without eating. Another SEC member questions why he is so irritated, saying that she is just a girl and shouldn't be a problem. He suggests using a non-lethal poisonous incense so they can capture her easily. The man asks if he is new there and questions if he really thinks they haven't tried that already. He says that the girl is an expert in medicine, so no poison or aphrodisiac will work on her. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this situation. They just have to wait until hunger does its job. Once her body is completely weak, they will capture her. He believes that she won't last much longer and that the elder brother will soon be able to enjoy her. Qing Zhao, lying on the floor, thinks that she must resist. She cannot give up. With a determined look, she promises that she will not succumb, and biting her lip, curses them and says that they have betrayed the young master. Sometime later, the search teams inform Brother Wu Jin that they found nothing. Shao Qing says that there are no traces of Sister Zhao. The protagonist thinks that it's impossible. She has to be here since he can sense a faint energy trace from her bells. Long asks if he is tired of searching and questions if the young master will kneel and call him master. Outside the Beast King sect, people hear Long ordering someone to kneel and call him master. A crowd starts gathering in front of the sect, with some asking who that Chen Wu Jin with them is. Long questions the young master about what is happening and if he is going to run away, reminding him that they made a bet and he gave his word. He orders Wu Jin to call him master immediately, intending to humiliate him in front of everyone and make him pay for his insolence. The young master says that if he has no other choice, he will do it. But he comments that since that bell doesn't belong to Long, he might as well return it, as the protagonist will still be its true owner. Long questions why he should return it. Master Hao intervenes, saying that Long is right, but that bell has nothing to do with his sect, and if he is a decent man, he should return it. Tung Long remains silent, hands the bell back to Wu Jin, and orders him to call him master already. The protagonist holding the bell says that he knew it. The closer he gets to it, the stronger Qing Zhao's spiritual energy becomes, and he is certain that she is definitely there. Long asks what the problem is, and if he is going to continue with this. The young master Wu Jin responds that a disgusting person like him is not worthy of her, and warns that this is his final warning. He demands that Long answer honestly and asks if he kidnapped Qing Zhao. Long, irritated, remains silent. Meanwhile, the protagonist states that since Long refuses to admit it, he will find out himself. He declares that he didn't want to cause more trouble, but he has changed his mind. Now he will show everyone how rotten Long is inside, and says he is going to start using a technique on the bell. The bell quickly flies into the air. People are surprised, wondering what that is, while others comment that the technique is the spiritual locator, a mysterious technique that very few cultivators are capable of using. Cha Hayan thinks that she knew she made the right choice because, among the hardcore players, he is the best and knows how to use most tricks perfectly. A man points his finger and tells the crowd to look, saying that the technique is recreating the scene. The vision shows Wang Tunglong and his men carrying the girl in a cage, giving her some water and telling Qing Zhao that he doesn't want her lips to be dry when they kiss. Qing Zhao, with a dagger pointed at herself, threatens him and warns him not to come closer. Long, irritated, calls her a bitch. He tells her to listen and stop thinking that he won't do anything just because she is threatening to take her own life with that stupid knife. He says that once she is too weak to resist, he will have a lot of fun with her and tells her wait because he is sure she will love it. He throws the water on her, saying that they will remove that plague first, and orders her to stop being shy and stop covering herself. Long comments that once they are married, he will make sure she stops being so timid. Wang Tunglong orders the protagonist to stop and not to continue showing the scenes. The crowd outside starts saying that they didn't know Long was such a depraved person and comments that they aren't surprised since he has always been trash. They remember that, to gain influence and enter his current sect, he betrayed Qin Wujin, and someone who betrays his former master for power can never be a good person. The young master says that he warned him before and comments that he would rather die than call Long master. With a serious look and exuding spiritual energy, he declares that if Long laid his hands on Qing Zhao, he will make him suffer. Tung Long orders his men to open the secret door immediately, but the protagonist breaks the door down and calls for Qing Zhao, saying that he has come to save her. Suddenly, he hears the voice of a man calling her a bitch and saying that she has finally lost her strength. The man near her says that he will take advantage of the situation and be the first to enjoy her. Hearing this, the protagonist rushes in and upon arriving, delivers a full-force punch to the man, breaking his neck. The other man, witnessing this, begins to tremble in fear. The protagonist, exuding a sinister aura, calls him a piece of trash, while the man falls to the ground, shaking uncontrollably. The young master picks up Qing Zhao, who is trembling, and tells her not to be afraid because her master has arrived. Long says that Qin Wujin is too arrogant and comments that he just took the life of one of their disciples, which is highly unethical. The young master mocks them, saying that they, of all people, are talking about ethics and morality, and asks if Long really thinks he has the right to question him. He states that he ended the man because he insulted his sect and tried to take advantage of his friend. He declares that Long is lucky because the elders are there, and he cannot take the life of any participant before the tournament. Otherwise, Long wouldn't be alive. But once the grand tournament begins, he won't escape and will meet a miserable end. Tung Long calls him a disgrace. Sometime later, in another place, Tung Long smashes a teacup and swears that he will eliminate that little bastard. He wonders where the hell the young master's teacher is, and comments that they were supposed to meet there. Suddenly, a voice calls his name and comments that he seems upset. Zhao Shirua says that it seems his little arrival wasn't enough to ease Long's frustration, and asks if he didn't like the decor. Long says he doesn't have time for this, and proposes revealing Chun Wujin's location on the condition that they eliminate him. That little bastard came back from the dead and is ruining his plans. And Long questions why he is still alive. Shu Ruo says he's sorry but can't help, as it was the great warrior Yi Lin Chun who eliminated him the first time. If Long wants to blame someone, he should blame Yi Lin Chun and his incompetent magic. However, Shu Ruo tells Long not to worry because the Patriarch left a message. Since the Beast King sect and theirs have a good relationship, they won't abandon them. Zhao Shu Ruo questions whether Long should be happy since he saved his ass and the sex in the forest, telling Long to just focus on the grand tournament since everything will be resolved once it begins. He orders him to prepare the sex participants because that is his mission and comments that he won't let Chen Wujin take the lead. Sometime later, Xiao Qing wrings a warm water cloth, places it on Qing Zhao's forehead, and says that she is stable and her fever should go down now. She asks Wujin not to worry because Qing Zhao will be fine. The protagonist strokes Xiao Qing's head and says he knows that with her taking care of everything, he has nothing to worry about, and thanks her. Outside, a voice orders Chen Wujin to come out immediately, warning that they won't allow him to bring disaster and calamity to the world. Qing Zhao says that voice sounds familiar, while the young master thinks that tone belongs to his character's arch-nemesis. One of Master Bai's disciples enters the room, asking Wujin where that girl came from and commenting that she is a rare type. At first he thought she was an enemy, but then she started shouting that she would bring disaster and calamity with him. Besides that, she mentioned having the power of 10,000 demons. The protagonist is embarrassed and tells the disciple not to pay attention to her, because without a doubt, she is quite peculiar. At the entrance, the girl tells the receptionist that she is looking for Chen Wujin, asking where he is and claiming that she knows he is staying there. The receptionist asks the lady to stop shouting because she is disturbing the other guests and questions what the problem is. The young master calls her sister Qingxi and says it has been a long time since they last saw each other. Chu Qingxi, from the spiritual sect, quickly turns around upon hearing his voice and calls out to him, running up the stairs while saying that she knew he wouldn't die so easily. She comments that it's expected from the young master of their sect, since he is more resilient than her, having the blood of a god. Wujin thinks that his character is only alive because of the whims of the developers, and asks how Chu Qingxi knew he would participate in the grand tournament. She replies that the master and his wife sent her a letter and apologizes for leaving the sect to continue her training 6 months ago. She didn't expect them to face such a great catastrophe. The young master tells her not to worry because everything is fine and the storm is past. Chu Qingxi pats the protagonist's back, saying that he's right because now it's time to face them and reclaim their honor. Irritated, she comments that the bastard Yi Lin Duan will also participate in the grand tournament, so it's time to take revenge. Sometime later, Qing Zhao opens her eyes and calls for her master, asking where he is. She feels confused and remembers that the last thing she recalls was dropping the dagger from her hands. She thought she had no more strength left and couldn't resist anymore. So she collapsed exhausted. She believed she needed to endure and couldn't faint. But as she was closing her eyes, she heard Long's men watching her and saying that she had lost all her strength, so she belonged to them now. As one of them entered the room, he commented that she was a beauty, but that it was a shame she was so stubborn. Then, he lunged at her while she screamed for him not to touch her. Qing Zhao starts crying and says that it can't be, apologizing because she feels like she failed in the end. The protagonist hears her voice and calls her name, asking if she's okay and what happened. She's confused to see her master there and starts crying even more, hugging him and saying that he is alive. Wu Jin tells her to calm down because everything is fine. Zhao says she must be dreaming since she is so happy. Zhao Qing comments that now that she has woken up, brother Wu Jin must be relieved, while Chu Qingxi questions whether Zhao was missing. Master Hao appears and asks what is going on, and if they are Wu Jin's friends. The protagonist questions whether it is Master Hao who has arrived. The old man gives a slight smile and says that the brat is surrounded by beauties, asking which one has his heart. The young master tells him not to provoke him. Master Hao says he agrees, and comments that he came to talk about agreements, explaining that each sect, clan, or family must send 3 participants to the grand tournament, and asks who will be competing. The 3 girls say they want to participate. Chu-Ching-shi comments that she is responsible for managing the sect, and is also the secretary of Master Wu Jin. So of course, he must participate. Xiao-Qing says she wants to help brother Wu Jin, since it's the least she can do. Zhao asks the young master to let her go with him, because she is sure she will be useful. Zhao reinforces her request, saying that if she hadn't been so foolish and asked Wang Tenglong for help, she wouldn't have faced so many problems. Wu Jin tells her not to cry because it wasn't her fault. He says she doesn't need to blame herself for it, since it was impossible to predict that they would betray them and join another sect. Master Hao comments that he envies him and tells the boy that all the women really appreciate him, adding that it's good to be young. He says he will leave them alone and come back tomorrow to confirm, asking Wu Jin to think carefully. The protagonist explains to Master Hao that they are not his lovers. The old man laughs and says that's what he says. The young Master Wu Jin sighs and thinks that the master is right. He must select the participants as soon as possible and prepare them for the grand tournament. Wu Jin knows that the tournament will have all kinds of tricks, and Zhao will undoubtedly be useful thanks to her medical skills, especially in cases of poisoning or similar attacks. Xiaoqing asks her grandfather for permission to go as a representative of the spiritual sect. Master Bai sighs and says that either way he wouldn't participate, so she can go with them. Wu Jin thinks that since she was the heroine of the game, he should bring her for her spiritual abilities. Qiu-Qing-shi doesn't appear much in the game, but she seems very confident, and her destructive power is undoubtedly strong. However, she is the least useful of the 3. Qiu-Qing-shi questions Wu Jin, betting that his demonic powers must have impressed him, and asks if he wants her to be in the vanguard. The young master thinks it will be difficult to argue with her. The protagonist tells Qiu-Qing-shi that he is sure that with her long training, she has returned even stronger, and asks if they can have a battle. The girl says of course, and asks if he is captivated by her power and beauty. Chu-Ching warns that he will be scared when he sees her in action. Chen Wu Jin replies that in that case, they can begin and informs Yao Air that they will use the inn's courtyard. Shi replies that it's fine, but warns that it costs 2 silver coins per hour. The young Wu Jin thinks that's highway robbery. In the courtyard of the inn, the protagonist is waiting for Qing Shi to fight and comments that she can start first and make the first move if she's fine with it. Qing Shi responds that's fine, but he shouldn't blame her if he can't handle it. Exuding her spiritual power, she tells the young master to prepare himself and uses the blood dagger technique, striking towards him. Cha Hai-in thinks she couldn't see the movement, while Qing Zhao considers the attack very powerful, and Zhao Qing believes she used her full strength, and wonders if she couldn't have held back a little. The protagonist observes silently and closes his eyes, letting the technique pass beside him. The girls, surprised, say that she missed. While Qin Shi says that he shouldn't underestimate her, quickly, she uses Assassin Strike, materializing a blade towards the young master. Xiaoqing comments that it's incredible to be able to materialize an attack like that. And Master Bai says that certainly it's not bad. But it's a pity because even with a strange and unique cultivation method, her power is not above the Jin Dan realm, so she won't be able to do anything. The young Master Wu Jin calls Qin Shi's name and stops her attack with a single finger, saying that he's sorry. But she won't have a chance in the grand tournament because she's still not strong enough. Qin Shi stomps her foot and says that there's no way that fight counted. Pouting, she says she didn't use all her power because she was afraid of hurting him, and calls Wu Jin to fight again. Xiaoqing says that's enough, and comments that she knows very well that she has no chance. While Zhao states that it's not a good idea to insist on this, Chu-Ching tells both of them to shut up and challenges them, asking if they think she's weak, then why don't they try to defeat her. Qingxi notices something and comments to the protagonist that he did this on purpose because he wanted to prevent her from participating in the tournament. Wu Jin asks her to calm down and confirms that it's true. He doesn't want her to participate in the tournament. Qingxi gets irritated, but Wu Jin says that he has a very important task for her and that only she can do it, making her irreplaceable in his plans. Qingxi asks if it really has to be her, and he answers that yes. He explains that the tournament won't be decided only in the arena. There will be many dangers outside of it. It is inevitable that they will encounter people from the Beast King sect, and they will do anything to win, including breaking the rules and setting traps. Participating will be extremely dangerous, so he needs her to be their guardian, ensuring that everything goes in their favor. Wu Jin pleads with her and mentions that she has the power of 10,000 demons, and he is sure that she will be able to suppress their enemies. Qingshi is confused, but Wu Jin calls her name again and, placing his hand on his chest, says, "We have given our hearts for the sect," and asks if he can count on her. Qingshi, excited by the young master's words, responds that he can count on her. Cha Han, unable to believe it, thinks that she is surrounded by idiots. The protagonists give a slight smile and sighs. On the day the grand tournament begins, the young master Wu Jin hands the list of participants to Master Hao. Hao laughs, wishes him good luck, and comments that he hopes he can win. Chen Wu Jin thanks him for his words. The tournament organizers start beating the drums, and Master Hao announces the beginning of the grand tournament. Everyone is euphoric and excited. Xiao Ting starts waving the flag, saying that victory will be theirs and that Brother Wu Jin is the best. The protagonist is embarrassed. Cha Han appears beside him, and Wu Jin tells her that the tournament is about to start, so she cannot follow him. She responds that he doesn't need to worry because she is the system. And if he doesn't remember, it means that she is omnipresent. She comments that she will follow him wherever he goes. The young master just takes a deep breath. Suddenly, someone points to the sky, telling the others to look and declaring that it has finally begun. Master Hao announces that the first round consists of surviving inside the secret realm. He orders the participants to form a group of 3 and pass through the dimensional mirror. He explains that they will need to survive for 7 days and prove their worth in a hostile environment. He wishes them all good luck. Xiao Qing, surprised, asks Brother Wu Jin what that is. All participants receive an amulet, and Master Hao comments that everyone must take care of that piece of jade. Once they enter the secret realm, if they lose it, they will be disqualified. He also explains that the missions are simple. Protect their jade pieces and take the ones from other teams. They will earn 1 point for each extra piece, but will lose 5 if any member loses theirs. Well, now everyone can enter the dimensional mirror, says Master Hao, wishing everyone good luck. Thus, he begins moving everyone through the dimensional mirror. The young master Wu Jin holds Qing and Zhao, telling them to hold on tight. Master Hao says that they can use external objects, but if they try to damage others on purpose or with bad intentions, they shouldn't blame him for disqualifying them. Before they land, the young master throws a green slime on the ground, making their landing easier. Qing notices something and tells Chen Wu Jin that the aura on that island is very strong. Zhao warns the master to be careful because she is sure that the test is not just about facing others and that there must be something more. Wu Jin reassures her, saying that he thinks the same. It must have a hidden test. Otherwise, with the current level of cultivation, it would be too easy. Master Halian Tibetan comments that Chun Wu Jin is very presumptuous and questions the second brother if that was the variable he had mentioned. Halian Shan confirms and says that the boy is very interesting. He mentions that the sects have produced few geniuses in recent years and that, without a doubt, Wu Jin will surprise him. Lian Tibetan agrees and comments that the boy should be dead. Without a doubt, he will be an interesting variable. Finally, he says that enough talk. It's time to observe what happens. At the betting house, the owner calls everyone to place their bets. Many start betting on Wang Tanglong from the Beast King sect, while others bet on Xiao Xingyu from the Star sect. Later, some comment that if Lin Xin is participating, he will be the winner. But others question whether he is really competing. One of the gamblers comments that now that it has been mentioned, he still hasn't seen Lin Xin. This causes murmurs among the crowd, and some lament, saying that without him, the competition will be boring. Sometime later, one of the participants, terrified, runs from a giant tiger, screaming for help and saying that he surrenders. Long declares that there is no one who can face him, and his men comment that they can't even handle their mascot. One of the members suggests that now that they are prepared, they should get rid of Chun Wujin. Wang Tenlong tells them not to worry because he has already sent Zhao Jinping to capture him. He comments that nothing escapes his eyes. As soon as they discover where Wu Jin is, they will take care of that trash, and this time, he will eliminate him personally. Zhao Qing alerts Wu Jin to look at the sky. Sometime later, the protagonist comments that the eagle looks delicious. He praises Zhao, saying that her cooking is wonderful. Zhao asks if they haven't violated any rules by doing this, but Qing explains that there is no prohibition against killing a bird, only against taking the lives of people. Wu Jin adds that, technically, those aren't just birds but spiritual beasts, and the Beast King sect has many of them. Suddenly, a voice says that it sees Wu Jin is still taking lives indiscriminately, and that he is the same demon as always. A young man perched on a tree comments that Chen Wu Jin is incredibly lucky. He jumps down, says that Wu Jin remains a mystery, and questions what he truly is and how he managed to come back to life. The protagonist, surprised, wonders if that guy is really the protagonist and why he is so different from the game. Xiao Qing calls out Yi Linxian and comments that it has been a long time since she last saw him. He questions Qing about why she is with that trash and asks if he is forcing her. Wu Jin wonders how he could have forgotten something so important and remembers that those two are the heroes of the game. Zhao asks the young master if he is okay, and he tells her not to worry, saying that he is just a little dizzy. Yi Linxian tells Xiao Qing to come with him and forget about that bastard. The protagonist gets irritated, questions what he thinks he is doing, and asks if he still thinks he is dead. He declares that he will not tolerate such insolence and uses spiritual writing. But Qing commands her snake Lingua to take care of him, leaving Wu Jin and Yi Linxian confused. Linxian dodges Lingua's attack and asks what she is doing. The girl questions if he thinks she is the same fool as before and declares that he will pay for everything he has done, promising to send him to hell. Yi Linxian responds that she is as impulsive as ever and, using his flute, says that he understands. In that case, he will teach her a lesson, and she will pay the price for her recklessness. Outside on the large screen, everyone is watching in shock. They comment that it is undoubtedly Yi Linxian. The crowd says that since he and Chun Wujin are enemies, there is no better opportunity. Master Bai quickly stands up, calling his granddaughter Xiao Qing. Master Hao tells him to calm down and reminds him that he knows the rules. Nothing can interfere during the tournament. Bai Muyang responds that he cannot sit idly by because she is his granddaughter. Hao says that as long as she does not surrender and does not drop the piece of jade, he cannot do anything. Muyang insists that he must act before it is too late and orders how to get out of his way. Suddenly, an explosion occurs in the mirror. Master Bai, shocked, calls for his granddaughter and runs, saying that if anything happens to her, everyone will pay the price. As he approaches the mirror, he says that he can no longer see anything and is sure that she has been reduced to ashes. The protagonist comments that Yi Linxian's fire is useless against his wind, defending against the attack and dissipating the flames with a gust of wind. With Qing in his arms, Wu Jin tells Yi Linxian that this time, things will be different, and declares loudly that he will not let him harm his woman. The spectators watching through the mirror comment that it was incredible. Someone asks if Chun Wu Jin really managed to block Yi Linxian's attack, while another questions what kind of techniques that boy cultivates. Yi Linxian, irritated, wonders what is happening as when they got rid of Wu Jin in the past, he was not this strong. He questions how Wu Jin came back so powerful and who he really is, as it is impossible for trash to be this strong. The young master and the system are confused, but Wu Jin finds the question strange and comments that he is Chun Wu Jin, the person Yi Linxian killed and used as a sacrifice to become famous. Qing asks him not to phrase it that way because, even if it is true, it makes him sound like a loser. Yi Linxian responds that it seems he was worrying for nothing and says that he does not understand why he got so serious about trash like him. In that case, he suggests that they hand over their pieces of jade, and he will let them go. Qing states that Lin Chen's attack is Semhai's song, a melody capable of piercing the soul and damaging the heart. Outside, people comment on Yelinkin's intense aura, while others beg for the fight to be stopped, saying that they can't take it anymore and that he will end up going crazy with that. Hal Yin Tibetan says that, as expected of Yelinkin, that girl is very talented. Master Hao agrees, saying that he is right, and that the situation has become difficult for Chen Wujin. He reassures Master Bai, telling him not to worry, as he is sure that they will be fine, and comments that it is better to let the young ones resolve their own problems. Wujin orders Zhao to listen and use the bells to create a shield quickly. She responds that she understands and begins to create the shield with the bells. Zhao comments that she managed to create the shield, and the protagonist thinks that now he doesn't have to worry about them anymore and can fight without holding back. Meanwhile, Lin Shun continues using his technique, but the young Master Wujin reflects that, in the second original game, Lin Shun was a decent protagonist because, even while launching that attack, he wasn't actually trying to take Zhao Ting's life. To Wujin, this lack of intensity makes Lin Shun superficial and incapable of comparing to him, the true villain. He believes it's time for Lin Shun to learn a lesson, even if he is the hero. That means nothing to him because in his eyes, Lin Shun is nothing but trash. Yet Lin Shun laughs and comments that Wu Jin is an idiot because now that he has left the two behind, there is no longer any need to hold back. He says that Wu Jin has fallen into his trap and warns him not to move, because if he does, the song will become stronger and stronger. Suddenly, the young master, whom Lin Shun thought he had caught, begins to dissolve, revealing that it was just water. Lin Shun, confused, asks what happened. The water that had been falling to the ground suddenly rises and surrounds him, trapping him inside a sphere of water. Lin Shun can't believe what he's seeing and wonders if that is a spiritual transformation. The spectators, shocked, comment that the situation is bad and ask what Wu Jin is doing with his hands. Master Bai, in disbelief, thinks that the brat managed to master his technique because the Shanghai style is one of his most powerful moves. Zhao Qing, excited, tells brother Wu Jin that he did it and that the spiritual song is over, while Zhao comments that the master is incredible. The young master replies that it was just luck, but internally he knows it wasn't luck, but all carefully planned. He believes that this doesn't happen just because he is a hardcore player, but because he understands the fundamentals. He reflects that Yi Linqian's ability is related to water, but for someone of his level, he doesn't even understand the basics. If you've watched until now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for sticking around. I got a brand new and exciting Manhwa recap waiting for you. Click on the video on your screen or check the link in the description. See you in the next one.